time travel is a pretty damn popular sci-fi subject that we hear a lot about across different media platforms, whether that be in literature, movies, or games. It gets mentioned, implemented, and used to take fictional characters backwards to the past and forwards to the future, acting like some form of transportation device, tossing people into completely different eras that they just didn't come from. But there isn't actually that many modern games out there that have the concept of time as its backbone, having the whole story and gameplay mechanics function completely around it. Remedy have come along and developed a new title that does, flinging out something fresh to the market, that we haven't seen much of recently. But not only do they want to bring out a game that has time travel and time manipulation at its digital heart, but they also want this said video game to be a TV show too, with the idea that live action actors are somehow going to drive the story forwards. And as crazy as it sounds, Remedy have created their own TV game blended hybrid baby. So being the first major Xbox One exclusive of 2016, is it going to kick the year's exclusives lineup off with a bang? Or is the game just a complete waste of time? Here's my review on a game called Quantum Break. Right from the beginning, you're thrown into the shoes of a fairly normal, everyday dude called Jack Joyce, who happens to have the smartest best mate and brother in the history of mankind, as they like to build time machines in their spare time. You know, the usual kind of things that university students get up to, other than playing beer pong and procrastinating, that is. But once again, humans fuck around with things that they shouldn't be in the name of science, and unfortunately for you, that good old friend's time machine demonstration, which was all planned out marvellously in his head, has all gone tits up, as the machine explodes, fracturing time, and showering you and your buddy in chronon radiation, which is a bit of a shame really, as doing so has totally messed up time, and potentially doomed the world of its existence. Well done. But to make matters worse, the guy who also got caught in the time machine explosion, who was supposed to be a good chum that you'd known for years, well, he's a bit of a backstabbing arsehole, as he zips into the future, only to come back after founding the evil Monarch Solutions Company, aka the typical video game henchman that you'll be firing hot lead into over the next so many hours. The Monarch soldiers have been issued to kill you on sight, so they don't wait around before opening fire, and so you go off on your little adventure to fix time, stop Monarch, and take down its leader with about 1,000 plot twists, traitorous acts, and character deaths soon to follow. On the lighter side, the chronon radiation has blessed you with some pretty awesome powers to take on these Monarch soldiers with style. As for the rest of the story, it's hard to go into too much detail without spouting out possible spoilers that will probably ruin a few people's lives if I happen to say anything more. So to save my arse, that's all you're gonna get here. Though I can say that the game leans very heavily on its story, to the point where without it, it'd completely flop over like a dead fish. So it's a good thing that the plot and characters are probably one of the better things about Quantum Break. It sets off at a steady pace with a fairly simple and safe start, and eventually gets you more and more hooked, progressing in its complexity as the story continues. It's one of those games where you're gonna have to put your phone away and ignore all that banter with your mates going on in that messenger inbox for a while if you want to follow the plotline properly. Which you almost certainly do, as playing through Quantum Break is going to be one hell of a dull ride otherwise. Especially as the game is structured like a TV show, with events all following on from each other. But before I talk about all that live action stuff, I'm first going to explain what the actual gameplay is all about. Because being a video game, that shit's pretty damn important. It's all laid out as a typical dot-to-dot linear third-person shooter, though because you happen to have those wacky time powers, it means that there's a few things here that differ to the norm. Remember the whole bullet time mechanic from Remedy's Max Payne games? Well, Quantum Break pretty much borrows some inspiration from it, and then cranks the bugger up to 11, allowing you to take out your opponents in awesome ways, giving you the feeling that you've just entered the Matrix. These badass powers include zipping around like a kid who's overdosed on Monster Energy, creating your own personal bubble for when the outside world is getting a little bit too much to handle, and freezing time in front of an enemy, only to unload a clip of ammo into the frozen time, to then resume that time to have 20 or so bullets whiz into the bugger's face all at once. Not exactly the best day at work for that guy.
Overkill.
There's quite a few of these superpowers that help to change up the firefights, and it can be fun mixing them up, populating the screen with a frantic storm of special effects. These crazy ass time powers can also be upgraded too, by collecting chronon sources, which are randomly floating around chilling in the environment. And these shiny new upgrades can boost those little tricks, improving their effectiveness and generally giving them a buff. But these aren't the only collectibles in the world. Bits and pieces of intel and interactive stuff are scattered all over the game's areas, and these provide extra background detail on what's going on within the story and the minds of the characters connected with it, making otherwise bog standard collectibles something worth checking out, added to the overall narrative and the plotline. Though the issue here is that some pretty important story information can often be stuck in within these readable letters, emails and interactive props, which help explain some of the more confusing things about Quantum Break. And well, let's be honest, most gamers aren't going to sit through a 700-word document on time travel physics or situation reports, which might just so happen to explain what the hell is going on, as they'd probably rather be unloading a clip of shrapnel into some poor guy's skull instead, as that's the kind of thing that gamers generally prefer to do. Throughout your journey, you'll also encounter a few puzzle moments, where you've either got to manipulate time to get around an obstacle, or to stop time-affected objects from brutally murdering you, as they have their violent spasms. The environment is the second biggest enemy of the game, as you'll have to use those powers to get around it without getting flattened, skewered or sliced up in the process, and it seems that Jack's almost always in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, if you're the kind of person that likes to switch off your game and hop onto Netflix constantly in the middle of a hardcore gaming sesh, then this is the game for you, as one minute you'll be casually playing the game, and then the next minute you'll be slapped in the face with one of the longest cutscenes on planet Earth. Quantum Break fuses gaming and TV to create something sort of in the middle. Here lies a bit of a problem though, as it doesn't really know what it wants to be, a game or a TV show, and it dips its toes into both realms without them both feeling truly connected together. Most of the live action stuff kinda feels a bit unnecessary, and it doesn't really help develop the main characters, or add anything worthwhile to the story too much. It mainly follows the smaller background characters, which are barely even seen in the game, some of which you might never even encounter at all if they'd already died earlier on. And spending all that time watching the life story of a dude who's not even all that relevant to the plot does feel a little bit pointless, even if they might pop by for a quick cameo in the game later on. I'm not saying that the live action TV stuff is a load of irrelevant crap, but it's definitely not as meshed in with the actual gameplay and storyline as I would have hoped. The acting and overall production isn't all that bad at the end of the day, but the two platforms feel a bit disjointed from each other, and it sort of feels like some low budget Amazon Prime series has been shoved in between the chapters, replacing the much shorter cutscenes that would have been there instead. Quantum Break still has game rendered cutscenes too, which do the job better, and it'd probably be a stronger decision using more of these, acting more like a video game, rather than slapping a TV show awkwardly in the middle. It's not terrible, but at the same time it's still not exactly on par with other, bigger shows already out there, and this reflects on the overall quality of the game. Another element to the game to boost its storyline interactivity is the small sections at the end of each act, allowing you to take control of the antagonist, look into the future, and pick between two different options, which slightly affect the next segments of the plot. The choices that you make as you play along affect what is going to happen later on, not just in the game, but the live action stuff too. Characters that otherwise could have lived might die, leading to different sections in the future. This means that the game has more of a reason to be sat through again, and these alternate events mix things up, leading to different outcomes. Though these changes are never too extravagant, and never really affect the destiny of the main characters, or the game's ending for that matter. So Quantum Break will have you saying things out loud like, check out those ragdoll physics. Oh look, everybody in the game has a Nokia Lumia. How coincidental.
Super cool, man. This is going on Facebook right now.
And now that's one angry fucking door. But is it worth getting? So as a game, Quantum Break is a decent third-person shooter. It's not brilliant, and its levels are very linear, but the chaotic shootouts, flashy visual effects, and infamous-style superpowers help brighten up an otherwise bare-bones step-by-step experience. Its story and lore is one of the main highlights of the game, with a lot of emphasis shining onto the characters and the plot, which I actually enjoyed more than a lot of other recent titles. Remedy have definitely used a lot of risky ideas here, and it's clear that some definitely need a bit of fine-tuning. The whole TV game splicing thing is a bit hit and miss, and it's likely to just piss a lot of gamers off. Plus, this would be a great time to mention that the game isn't actually all that long, with an average playthrough taking roughly about 8 to 10 hours to complete. It's not going to be long before you'll be sat twiddling your thumbs whilst you stare at those credits rolling up the screen, wondering about that trade-in value. There are reasons to go back, to scour the world of its collectibles and replay the chapters again, making different decisions the next time around, but for most people, there probably isn't enough here to justify repeating it all over again. Quantum Break does deliver a fair few enjoyable and often thrilling experiences along the way, plus a better story than your average shoot 'em up, and it's a game that does deserve a visit if you own an Xbox One. But it's definitely not the console seller some people assumed it would be. But to anyone fancies something a bit unique and doesn't mind sitting around watching a bit of TV in between their gameplay, should give Quantum Break a shot. It's pretty good, but the game does have its flaws, and renting the title will probably be a better option if you have a tendency to blaze through your games fast. So dust off the old time machine, take a nice warm chronon radiation shower, and blast people into tomorrow, as you lay waste to a bunch of confused blokes, and try and save the world from time itself. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, like and subscribe for plenty more reviews and other videos, and I'll see you in the next one.